Last week I got to talk about some of the new heroes swinging into the fray. Today I get to talk about some of the criminals they are probably on their way to stop with Shocker and Electro. My name is Nate, and welcome to the Gamers Guild. So, we've got two very yellow villains, both with an association to electricity in some regard or another. But, well, it may shock you that Shocker doesn't really shock people in the way you may have originally thought. Shocker has the alter ego of Herman Schultz. He has 4 physical defense and 3 energy and mystic defense. He has 5 stamina, moves medium on a 50mm base, is size 2 for 3 threat. So nothing crazy about these stats, but it is slightly above average for a 3 threat. His first attack is a physical Vibro Shock Strike. It's a range 3 attack with a strength of 5 and no cost. It is a builder, so he will gain power equal to the damage dealt by the attack, and after the attack is resolved, if you have a wild in your roll, you also get to stun the target. So nothing too crazy here on this attack, but easy access to stun at a pretty decent range is nice to have. His Spender is also a range 3 attack, but it swaps out the attack type to energy. Shake 'em On Down has a strength of 7 for a cost of 4 power, and has a wild stagger trigger. So again, not really a bad attack, but also nothing on it that is really cool that makes it just stand out. It's a fistful of dice with a good trigger on a wild. Herman then has 3 superpowers. He has a reactive vibrational shield that costs 2 power and can be used whenever he is targeted by a physical or energy attack. He then gets to add 2 dice to his defense roll against that attack. This is good tech, and since it's the only thing he has to spend power on outside of his spender, you're not going to feel bad about breaking it out to help keep him alive. And keeping him alive is going to be important because of his innate ability, If the Ground is Rocking. This ability says when an enemy character within range 2 of this character makes an attack, it rolls 1 fewer die on its attack roll. Oh man. I'm just going to go ahead and point out that he is immune to stun and has no changes on his backside, so that we can get into Shocker and his ground rocking ability. All in all, Herman looks pretty plain until you get to his innate ability. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. He has a very nice kit with some conditions, and between his reactive shield and his innate ability, I think he also might be deceptively tanky compared to what one might initially think when looking at his stat block. Especially when you consider who else is in the affiliation. So, where is Shocker going to be meant to shine? And to me, there are 2 roles that he's going to fill. One, he and another piece holding a flank pretty well together on something like a D-Secure. If your opponent wants to get optimal attacks off, they won't be on the point where Shocker should hopefully be, and if your opponent is on the point with you and you team up with like Shocker and Electro, then your opponent is going to be rolling 2 less dice on their attacks. And at that point, even somebody like Hulk begins to feel a little bit pillow-fisted. The other situation is for scenarios like Gamma and Researcher, less so Demons since no one actually wants to stand next to the Hell Portals anyway, but if Shocker can get the ground to be a rockin', weakening the output of the opposing team or forcing their characters to reposition is well worth the 3 threat he is going to cost you. I don't even want to imagine what kind of Iron Ball team you could put together out of something like Shocker on an E scenario. Dynamo plus Shocker alone is gross, but maybe we're in Discount Avengers with Steve and his bodyguard ability, and we throw in Cable and Widow for an 18-threat Gamma Hammers, and tell me you want to play into that list without blinking twice. I think outside of those situations, Shocker probably doesn't need to see the table as often as a character who, like maybe Lizard, who's in affiliation for Spider Foes, who just has a little bit more universal use. But pairing up Shocker with a character that can give the actual shock condition, like his buddy we're about to talk about, and letting the condition and Herman's innate power go to work is going to be really good. However, outside of the scenarios I have listed, I'm worried that Shocker gets more easily dealt with by a long-range character who is just on a different point. The other situations, though, I think just let him really easily shine as an annoying piece to deal with. And as someone who loves to play Loki, well, let's just say I'm a fan. Next up is Shocker's partner in crime, like in all possible ways. They're going to play well together, they actually do commit crimes together. Anyway, they pair really well together, and that is Electro, aka Max Dillon. He has 6 stamina, moves short on a 50mm base, is size 2 4 threat. His first attack is an energy builder, electric discharge, has a range of 4, strength of 5, 4 no power, and will gain him power equal to the damage dealt. As well, you can hand out the shock condition, which is a really nice status condition, on a wild. So this attack has good range, decent output, and again, a really nice status condition tacked onto it. His spender is a lot more interesting, though. Overload the Grid has a range of 3 and is a energy attack with a base strength of 6 for 4 power. But there's something to bump up the strength of that attack. Electro may blow up a size 3 or smaller terrain feature within range 3, and then you get to add dice equal to the size of the destroyed terrain feature to the attack. So a size 3 would make it a 9 dice spender, for example. This attack is really cool for a few reasons. If your own team doesn't have a lot of terrain interaction, this is a way to deny your opponent terrain throws and things at you, not to mention being able to deny cover for a target. And, well, of course, a bigger attack is also not a bad thing. So he has some pretty nice attacks, but where Max really begins to shine is all of his superpowers. First is Ride the Wires, and it's an active power that only costs 2, and is frankly really good. Electro chooses a terrain feature of size 2 or greater within range 3. He then has to drop all objective tokens where he is, but then after that he gets to place himself within range 2 of the chosen terrain feature, once per turn. So sure, Max may only move short, but this ability, even on like a short car, is a range 5 place. Not to mention something like the Fisk construction yard building, Electro just absolutely gets to book it. He then has 2 reactive abilities that you and your opponents are both going to want to make sure you remember. First is Livewire. It only costs 2 power and can be used when an enemy character ends a movement within range 3 of this character. Roll 4 dice, and for each crit and hit rolled, deal 1 damage to the enemy character that moved. That move, by the way, can be a character getting pushed, placed, thrown, advanced, or climbing by one of your own abilities as well. Not to even mention that this is the best ability of this type out there so far. It only costs 2 compared to the characters like Rocket and Mysterio, who are searching for successes on wilds and crits, but this one's more likely to deal damage since it sees successes on hits and crits, meaning it's going to see successes on 3 out of 8 sides of the dice compared to just the normal 2. Then finally we have Electrostatic. It costs 1 power and can be used after an attack targeting this character is resolved. If the attacking character is within range 3, it suffers 1 damage and gains the Shock special condition. So while it won't immediately stop him from taking damage, a reactive shock and damage is still really helpful and kind of a defensive ability. He then has his innate powers of flight and immunity to shock, with no changes on his injured side. So Electro's a little bit of a menace. Finding a terrain feature within range 3 of him is never going to be too difficult a task for him to just be able to hop around, and it only costs 2 power. So he's pretty easily double tapping on his activations. And as long as he has a little bit of success on those attacks, he'll be able to reactively deal out damage with his other abilities. I feel pretty safe in saying that he is going to be a piece that you just don't mind bringing into any game, pretty much. In a clumped up situation, he is just laying out shocks and using Livewire to get some free chit damage out there. On a spread out objective, like on a D, he's able to use the terrain to travel the board quickly to get to where you need him to be. As far as where he wants to be, well, he is affiliated with the Criminal Syndicate and foes, but so far none of the leaders really synergize with him particularly well, but he does work well enough just on his own, and the extra things they do give him are nice, that you should be quite happy to run him under those banners. Really, I think Electro wants to be in whatever affiliation can feed him a bit of power, or just enable the round 1 Ride the Wires to move up the midline and get off a double tap. From there, further power just enables his ability to harass your opponent even more so. So Brotherhood, where he can place off of Magneto's construct and be fed power, feels really good. Discount Steve and Professor X both also offer up solid play patterns for Electro to pop off early, and then consistently the rest of the game. But that's all I have for today for these 2 shocking spider foes who also pair really well together. I do want to take a moment to shout out the guild's sponsors who help make this content possible. If you're in the UK, you can shop at Tritex Games using the code TritexGGCB5 at checkout for an extra 5% off, and if you use this code on a pre-order item like the new Web Warriors and Foes coming out later this month, it will net you a total 25% off retail. If you're in the US, shop at GameChefs.org, where you can use the code GamersGuild for 15% off your order. As always, if you have an LGS you are playing at, we encourage you to support where you play. A few more things I do want to mention before this video is done is, first, the Star Wars Unlimited cast Sons of Mandalore is getting some time here on YouTube now. And hopefully by the end of the month we'll also have some gameplay and deck text to be able to put up in the video format, because those things are fun. I also want to take a moment and say, if you're enjoying the content here on YouTube or one of the different podcasts and want to support our efforts directly, you can support us on Patreon. As well, if you want to join in any silly discussion or ask questions to be answered from rules or general advice, you can join the Guildhall Discord page that has a link down in the description. Thank you all for watching, and until next time, keep on gaming.